Altitude, welcome to today's podcast. We're going to talk about the questions we ask. And I looked up a recent survey, said that mothers, your moms, our moms, filled an average of 288 questions every day. And it varies by age group, how many questions mothers field. The most questions come from 4-year-old girls, and this was a pretty interesting statistic. The survey found that the daily number of questions that they put to their moms is 390 questions. What time will we be there? When will we eat lunch? When will Dad come home? Why do I have to go to school? How do they make that? Tons and tons of questions. I looked up online what the top questions people ask, and here's some of the questions. How much should I weigh? How do I make money? What is this thing called Twitter? When will the world end? How do you get the flu? Those kind of things. So maybe you've played this game if you have an iPhone and you've asked Siri a lot of questions. And it's pretty an interesting game to ask Siri some questions and see the kind of responses that she gives you. And questions are really, really important. And you've probably heard Pastor Eddie and others say there's no bad questions, and that's really true. Questions create curiosity. Questions help create understanding. And in my devotion time over the last couple of weeks, I've been in the book of Acts. And in the book of Acts, there's a great story about a question that someone asked. And it's a question that we all have to ask at one point. So let me read this to you out of Acts chapter 16. And I'm going to start with verse 25 and summarize some things, and then we'll get to verses 30 and 31. This is about Paul and Silas who were praying and singing hymns, and they're in prison. And all the prisoners were listening, and then suddenly there was an earthquake and a loud noise, and the prison doors were shaken, and the prison doors were opened. And the keeper of the prison, when he woke and saw that the doors were open, he knew that he was in trouble. And he knew that the prisoners were gone, that his life would be in danger. So he drew a sword, really, to kill himself. But then Paul and Silas did not leave. They were there. And the jailer, the keeper of the prison, ran to Paul and Silas. And let me read to you in verse 30 what he asked. And he brought them out and said, Sirs, what must I do to be saved? That was the question that the jailer asked. What must I do to be saved? And in verse 31, they said this, Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and you will be saved, you and your household. So the questions you ask, the questions we ask are very important. I want to encourage you to ask questions. And I want to encourage you to make sure you've answered that specific question. And that's your podcast for today, Altitude.